Welcome to this special edition of Film Villains. We've gathered a panel of 10 horror luminaries to list their 100 favorite scary films, and we narrowed them down to the top movies to make your October creepy. There are many surprises on this list, so stick around as we count down the Film Villains 31 greatest horror films of all time. Let's go! All right, our first guest is the horror guru behind Sinful Celluloid, the producer of Knife Corp and Glenn Danzig's notorious debut film Veronica. Welcome, Christopher Jimenez.
Woo! What's going on,
up, dude? You may know our next villain as one of the hosts of Midnight Metal here on YouTube, but he's also the director of modern-day horror classics like The Hills Run Red, Tales of Halloween, and my favorite of his, The Dead Hate the Living. He has a new Tubi original horror movie out right now called You Shouldn't Have Let Me In. What's up, Dave Parker?
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. This soundtrack geek is a prolific genre actor and writer of Jackals and the TV shows Are You Afraid of the Dark and Day of the Dead. He's also the host of the world-famous and long-running Dead Right horror trivia game here in LA. Welcome, Jared Rivet. What's up, dude?
Excited to be here. This is awesome.
Hell yeah. Thanks for showing up. Next up, this guru of gross out is the owner of Sputix Movie Empire, an actor from dozens of horror films, including my own Night of the Bastard. He's the writer of Aquanoids and Creepies and stunt coordinator who knows not just karate, but a little crazy. Welcome, Eric Sputix.
How's it going, guys?
What's up? Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, this villain cut his teeth in the big studio special effects world before venturing into being a legendary horror journalist, AI master, and musician. He's a producer on the Devil's Carnival films and the director of Sleigh Bells, the Yuletide horror film everyone should show their grandma this Christmas. Welcome, Spooky Dan Walker.
Hey, everybody.
What's up? What's up? Thank you all for showing up. All right, so we asked every one of these villains. Oh, we have one guy missing, Ken Sledge. He had an emergency, so he had to bounce out. So, but we will still be counting his top 100. And so we asked all of these villains to list their top 100 favorite films. Then I gave a score from 10 down to 1. So their top 10, each scores a 10, 11 to 12 scores a 9, and all the way down to 91 to 100, that scores a 1. I compiled all 1,000 entries onto a spreadsheet by score to narrow them down to the top 31. And stick around to the end because this list will surprise you. There's a lot of surprises that didn't make it and a lot of surprises that did. So it's going to be really cool. With the tie scores, I ranked them by how many lists they were on. And if they were still tied, I referred to user internet ratings to see which one was more highly regarded. We have just 2 minutes and 30 seconds until we hear this scream. And once that scream happens, we have another 30 seconds to do our final, our final talks until we move on to the next one. So, everyone, I want you to comment below. Do any comment below where we're looking for your favorite horror movie. Tell us what you think is going to be the top 5. Tell us your top 3 horror films. We're doing a big giveaway. I just pulled this book out of my shelf. There's only 2 of these in my shelf, but you can buy them on Amazon, but that's not what this one is. This one came from the original release signing. Oh, look at that. Hey, Jared has one. Came from the original release signing.
You set that up. It wasn't just sitting there, man. You had that ready to go.
I only have
was smarter than the rest of us to think ahead.
Yeah. I have only 2 of these left, and I'm going to keep the other one for some other year, but this has been in my drawer for 6 years. It has 37 autographs on it from the 48 writers. We all wrote essays on our favorite horror movie. It includes Hunter Johnson with us, Christopher Jimenez with us, Spooky Dan Walker with us, Eric Sputik with us, Jared Rivet with us, Alex Napawaki, Dave Parker, and me. All of our autographs. Besides Melissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp, Jeffrey Reddick from Final Destination. Sorry, I'm trying to read the next name. Graham Skipper, he's an actor. Serena Vince, the actor, and Rolf Konevsky, the director and writer. So 37 autographs. We're going to pick one person to win this one. And then we're going to pick 2 more. And I have parts 2 and part 3. Parts 2 and parts 3, but not from these ones. Just are signed by me and Felissa Rose. And if
I don't have those.
Oh, you don't have those? Oh,
So maybe I could win them.
You got to comment below then, bro.
Yeah, comment below, man. Maybe you too can get Felissa's
I want to
signature.
read what Jonathan Lewis's favorite horror movie is.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Jonathan's
You know
not in
what?
the book,
You never
man. I
called
didn't
me.
know him.
Really?
I didn't know him. Yeah.
What?
Jonathan's,
Yeah.
I guess. I'm sorry, I keep bringing up these books, and Jonathan's like, the motherfucker keeps bringing these books up. And I'm just
Wow.
thinking,
Like,
man,
gotta make another one.
Believe that?
I met Jonathan in 2021.
Part 4.
Number 4
Yeah.
is going to be just Jonathan.
Yes,
That's
just
gonna be
Jonathan
you.
talking about
That's
his
right.
favorite
Oh,
genre.
part
All
4
my
for
favorite
gore.
horror
And it's all Jonathan.
Monday through Friday.
All right, but we have all October, so you can actually put as many comments as you want to win, and each comment is a new entry. We're gonna do a drawing at the beginning of November, and we'll do it on the first week's episode of November. So thank you all for watching it, and keep watching the rest of this because it's an exciting list. We're getting to the top, so let's get this started. Welcome to the Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Films of All Time. All right, first up is The Blair Witch Project, number 31.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this? How many of you guys saw it on VHS when this thing first came out? Or before it came
I
out?
did.
I saw it before it came out.
Yeah.
Few
Yeah.
months
Absolutely
beforehand.
terrifying, and didn't know that it wasn't real, but also suspected that it wasn't real, and checked all my closets and doors, and after I saw it, I was absolutely terrified, and still love it to this day. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know people complain that it's nothing happens, but I think that a lot happens, and it's a game changer.
Yep.
Yeah,
I saw
there's no
it
denying the
was on-
influence that this movie has.
No,
Yeah, how many
absolutely.
films did yeah, I mean probably hundreds of movies, and it started a lot of people's careers just by the inspiration.
It revitalized the entire found footage subgenre. It's just like everything was found footage after that.
Yeah. And it came out when I was in college, so it gave me a lot of hope that I could get out there and do it.
You could pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that it's a movie we all still reference as if this goes Blair Witch big, it's, for any indie film, it's still the hope for all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
He said there would be surprises.
Oh, hey, we have 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left. Thank you,
we have
Wilhelm.
30 seconds left?
Yeah,
Well,
30
I
seconds.
think you can't again, we've said it, but you can't argue the impact that this movie had, whether you like it or not. The impact of this movie and what it did, basically creating that subgenre of found footage. It gave everyone who never got to go to film school, didn't know how to make a movie or anything, hope to be able to make something, and it is very effective. So in that sense.
Oh, there we go. All right. Moving on.
Smooth.
Let's go. Move on to our number 30. It is Creep Show.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Way too low. Way too low.
Way too low.
Way
Yeah.
too
Way too
low.
Way too low. This was my number one.
Yeah, a big movie for both
Really?
you and Dave, which you guys both wrote about in My Favorite Horror Movie.
That's right.
Yeah, my
That's right.
favorite, but it wasn't my number one because I was
Yes.
being realistic. But again, this movie, for me personally, so influential. Made me want to make movies. So, and that beautiful marriage of Romero and Stephen King and Tom Savini. It was 1982. This was the horror trifecta. It was just it was just mind blowing.
And there was something about the whole kind of EC Comics kind of aspect to it. And as I like to always say that I was scared to death of horror movies. As a kid, I was very scared. I was scared of everything, and I was very scared of horror movies. And Creepshow taught me that I could have fun. It was right there in the ad campaign. It was right there in the marketing. The most fun you'll ever have being scared. And I was having fun watching a horror movie, which I didn't know was possible. All I knew was that they scared the shit out of me. And Creepshow completely changed it, and it got me into Fangoria, and it got me into Tom Savini and Romero and King, and so it changed my life. I still watch it to this day, and as I tell Dave all the time, he gets to actually do all the Creepshow lighting in his movies. He always specifically finds a way to make sure that he incorporates it. That's something I've always wanted to do and always try to do. the unmotivated, cool, I always call it creep show lighting. I don't even, I guess
Shameless creep show
shameless
lighting,
creep show lighting.
which I have in real life. So yeah,
Just look at
it's
that.
a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
It should be higher.
And it's easily the greatest horror anthology ever made.
Yeah, I think I like the second one more.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, I did. I
I
did.
don't know who said that, but they're insane.
That was me. But I think the second one is the first one that I had seen, and then I saw Creepshow #1 way later. So
Old
Yeah.
Chief
It was more
Woodenhead.
Tales of the Crypt than Tales of the Crypt movie
Yeah.
was. So that's what was great about it.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yep.
And what do you guys think of Creepshow 3? Ah, hey,
Never saw
yeah.
it.
Pretty bad.
yeah.
There's a Creepshow 3.
They made a 3.
There is. Yeah, I have my friends in it. So yeah, I eventually.
Yeah, that's my feeling about Creepshow 3. Right there.
It's basically it. That guy Jim Doubleson, he owns the Creepshow name. That's why it's on. That's why it's on Shudder. He owns Day of the Dead. That's why there's remakes and sequels to the remakes.
And TV
And
shows.
He owns Night Riders. Yeah. Oh, and the TV show. Okay. Did you ever meet? Did you
Which I
ever meet
wrote.
him? Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I like him a lot, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. All right, let's move on to number 29. It is Saw.
Yeah.
Woo.
Mhm.
That's a good place for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Not a bad place. Another super influential. It was made for what, $2.1 million or something like that.
1.5.
1.2.
1.5.
Yeah. Okay.
1.5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shot in a week.
No, it was not
No.
shot in a week.
Definitely not in a week.
That's what
Probably
they say on
20
the
days.
commentary.
Chris, I don't know what you're drinking or smoking, but share the wealth, pal, because that movie was not shot in a week.
Definitely.
The short film Proof of Concept may have been shot in a week, but this was shot 30 days at least.
Okay.
So, I don't want to run point, but again, it's super huge, influential movie. I know people have problems with it. Some people have talked about like, oh, well, the movie is not that great until the end when you get the surprise ending of it. But I really loved it. I loved that it was a tribute to Giallo films, and it was more of a mystery than it was what the Saw films became, which was more of like, how do you destroy a human body?
Mhm.
Though there are some really great sequels to it. And then that ending just made it all the more effective for me.
Yeah.
The
They were
principal
able to
production
take-
was 18 days, and the shooting budget was 700,000.
Okay.
So everyone is
18
wrong.
days.
According to the
We're spreading
IMDb,
rumors here. That's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
according to the IMDb, which is always the wealth of factual information.
Yes.
Yeah, I put it there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that ending, that's the very influential ending on me too. It made you
Oh yeah.
really think about the amazing ways you can do some sort of a surprise ending. Just a fucking killer.
And I
What
love how
makes
they
you go
took.
back and
Go
you
ahead.
want to watch the movie again after you see the ending to see all the little clues going, oh, there we go. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
most of us were confused for the first hour and 20 minutes of the movie. Like, what the hell's going on? But once you know how it ends, you're like, oh, I got to see it again.
Yeah, it's kind of a horror Rashomon
Great.
Right.
for those of you who know.
Yeah.
All right, Wilhelm tells us it's time to move on. Here we go for number 28 on the Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Films of All Time. It is number Killer Clowns of Outer Space.
That
Yeah.
one should be higher.
Woo! Yeah, it should be way higher, right? Yeah. This is one of those
Dude.
ones I caught on HBO like a million times as a kid, and I just fucking loved it in the late 80s,
The
man.
thing, it was always on as a child, so it's got a huge nostalgia factor for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's why it is so high. And it somehow got a cult following because this movie just keeps getting a little bit bigger every single year. Like, I'm a huge Dickies fan. Dickies are the band that performed the Killer Clowns theme song. And always growing up, Banana Splits was their biggest song. But now their encore is Killer Clowns. Like, this is now their mainstay. They just keep getting bigger.
Yeah, whenever I think of Killer Clowns, I always think of the one that hides in plain sight outside of the pharmacy and is doing
Yes.
the robotic movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just
Yeah.
favorite moment after favorite moment. You know, the another door scene. Oh, another door, and Royal Dano and Pooh Bear, and it's fantastic from start to finish. It's such
And like
It's
the finger silhouette.
No.
Yes, the T-Rex one. Yeah, I don't know. I think the lasting power of this movie, maybe even more so than the movie, is the image of the clowns, the design and the image of the clowns. It would be really interesting to see. Now, again, clowns are sort of a comophobia. It would be interesting to see if Damien Leone was influenced at all by watching this with Terrifier of like, oh, I'm going to do a clown. Even though Art the Clown looks completely different. I just wonder, like the whole clown thing in horror is a fascinating thing that I just never thought would be.
Right. Right. And it doesn't play them especially scary. They are definitely horror. They are definitely monsters, and they are definitely scary. But they don't play them the way that other scary clown movie, Terrifier being a great example. Other scary clown movies played them.
It's more like a carnival.
Gateway. It's a great gateway horror movie for kids.
Yep.
Oh, big time. It's like perfect for that entry to get someone involved.
Yep.
It's the marijuana of horror.
Yeah. And I still don't, the cult, I mean, I love that the cult following is blowing up and continues, but the whole Spirit Halloween thing where the popcorn guns and all the stuff comes, they put out new stuff every year and it sells out right away. Like it's this weird, I don't know.
Universal, the video game, it just keeps growing. It's crazy. It's amazing we haven't gotten a sequel yet.
I know.
You guys see they added Savini to the game this week?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's a character now in the game.
Oh, cool.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
man,
cool.
they've been talking about a damn sequel forever, so let's hope it someday happens. Damn. Or maybe we'll probably hope that it doesn't happen if it doesn't happen.
Right, if it just
It comes out like Beetlejuice. All right, moving on. Number 27 on the Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Reanimator.
Yeah.
Hunter keeps going in and out, but we'll bring him back in. He has bad internet right now, so. All right, go ahead, guys.
Perfect movie. It's just a perfect movie. There's nothing wrong with it. I have no complaints. As I mean, even Dr. Hill without his head, who's clearly an actor wearing shoulders, up to it. Who cares?
But it was the first time I saw that where it actually didn't look so obvious to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing about the movie is there's such a quirky charm to it amid all the bloodshed and gore. I mean, when I saw this was 1985. It was the year of the zombie. It was Day of the Dead, this Return of the Living Dead. And they were all completely different from each other, which you don't get a lot of anymore. Yeah, and that's the thing. There's not other movies really like Reanimator out there.
Right.
No.
And Jeffrey Combs, giving us Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, introducing us basically the world to Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. I mean, what a gift. And Stuart Gordon. I mean,
Stuart Gordon.
You can keep going.
And a head giving head. I mean, really,
Right. But that performance to Jeffrey Combs, just all the choices. I mean, there would be such an easy way to have him played as kind of an Igor or have him play as like a Norman Bates. And Combs comes in with this completely unique and awesome interpretation of the character. And I mean, they've talked about doing other Reanimator movies, and they made like some ripoff at some point. There was a ripoff of Reanimator that was made because it's public domain. But like, if you don't get Jeffrey Combs, there's not much of a point.
Wait, there was a beautiful combination of geeky and arrogance.
Yeah. Yep. And he thinks he's doing something good. He thinks he's doing the right thing. We had Dr. Logan in Day of the Dead, who's insane and using all of the, killing soldiers and using the dead soldiers to feed the zombies. Is almost like, oh, Dr. Logan and Dr. West, but they have completely different.
Now there's a team up movie waiting to happen.
buddy scientists.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one had Bride of Reanimator in their top. None of us did.
No.
I have a big history with Bride of Reanimator, but we'll go on too long. So
okay,
save it for another time.
That's an awesome movie, though. I think so.
Oh yeah,
all right. And that's a batshit crazy movie. By the time it fucking starts, it just doesn't stop.
This also created the greatest porn parody of all time, Repenetrator from 2004, starring Joanna Angel.
Cheers to
The
that.
real ones know.
Cool. All right, moving on to the number 26 in the Film Villains 31 greatest horror films of all time. It is The Descent.
Again, should be higher.
Yeah.
Definitely higher.
It was in your top 10, Dave, I think.
It was not in the top 10, but it was like right below it. It was the right next level down, because when you realize out of 100 movies and stuff like that, the absolute masterpieces that are out there. And I do think this is a masterpiece. But again, when you look at top 10s, it's finite. But anyway, this movie's amazing. Absolutely incredible.
One of the few that are on the list that is genuinely scary. And not even with the monster stuff.
And most of the way through, I mean, almost the whole fucking movie is terrifying. And on top of it, you have the human drama, which is really powerful too. And they're all like strong. There's not like weak women in this movie, like there is a lot of times in horror films. They're not necessarily being chased, or I mean, obviously they're being chased, but you know what I mean. They all have like strength. They're doing something that's
in distress.
They're physically fit and doing this physical, strenuous shit, crawling through these caves. Has this picked up with the like a newer generation, or are we still the only?
I don't know, because when you say that, it really was kind of ahead of its time as far as being a movie that's all about very strong women. Before there was the outcry for movies with strong women, Neil was doing this before then. So I hope, and if you haven't seen it, finish watching this and then go watch it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, this should be at the top of your list from this list, because it needs a good resurgence. And I mean, have you talked to Neil about? I assume you might know Neil, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only met him once, but I mean, did you ever get any good little tidbits of information from him?
I mean, the interesting thing is, most of it is on a set that they built on sound stages, for the caves and everything, which is really impressive. He was involved with part 2 a little bit, but for him, he was just like, this is a one-off and everything. And I always joked with it, like, well, come on, let's do one that's a super prequel. That's like, the old miners that discover the caves and everything. But alas, but he's made a classic, and that's all that matters.
He can leave it at that. I'm sure in his mind.
Movie poster is phenomenal.
And one of the best movie posters ever. And if you haven't seen his other movie, Dog Soldiers, check him out. If you don't know Neil Marshall, he also did some Game of Thrones episodes and a lot of TV and
Doomsday.
Great director. For number 25 on Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time, it is Candyman.
Wow. Okay.
Candyman, number 25.
So good.
All the way through.
And it kind of came out during like a horror drought, or kind of the beginning of the horror drought. And honestly, it was such a superior horror movie. And I'm glad that at the time it felt like we were getting an Exorcist. It felt like we were getting a Poltergeist. It felt like we were getting a classic, like it just did. And I'm glad.
Well, there was a seriousness to it.
Yes.
That was different from what was coming out around the time. And, in a lot of ways, it was the last, I mean, I guess right around this time, sorry to say, guys, the Leprechaun was probably coming out too, not to disparage those movies, but Candyman to me felt like for a very long time until Scream and Ghostface, the last serious sort of horror killer character icon who became an icon.
And Tony.
I mean, and it's such a lyrical, and it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautifully made movie. It's still really scary. Someone else take over.
Yeah,
that's a good, absolutely incredible, and resonates with you from beginning to end. And you couldn't even get it back then. I think that was part of it too. You loved it so much, and it was hard to get a hold of.
Yeah,
and Virginia Madsen, she's so incredible in this movie. Like such a strong performance from her that she really weighs everything on the whole movie on her shoulders. With
God, she's giving 100%. I mean, she's giving like 150%. Like it's
Yeah.
insane. Like she is not slumming it. She's not in a horror movie. Like
she's hypnotized. She's hypnotic to watch.
Yeah. They planted the hypnotic trigger words so that she would be hypnotized when Candyman was on set. And I mean, like and that Philip Glass score. My God, it's so good. And the Clive Barker source material, look, coming from Clive, there's a perfect, Bernard Rose,
beautiful mythology, and also for this type of movie, again, a very as far as quote unquote slasher type characters, or boogeymen type thing, this sort of inner city setting, it just changed a lot.
Yeah,
the impact of it far outreaches what you would normally think.
Yeah,
very unsettling all the way through too.
Totally.
All right, number 24 on the Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
That's not a horror movie. It's a psychological thriller.
I was gonna say that's the controversy, isn't it? With the Oscar.
Yeah.
Early 90s again, and both have Casey Lemons. Casey Lemons plays.
Yes, it's the friend in both of them, huh?
Yep.
Holy shit! Is it Kazi or Casey?
I don't know.
It's Casey Lemons, I believe.
Casey to me.
I didn't. Yeah, I totally forgot that. But yeah, we have very few '90s films on this list, and both of them.
Yeah, it's another perfect movie. I mean, we're getting there where we're all going to say that with each one. So
yeah, and it's hard. Once again, it's like we talked about with Blair Witch Project. How do you measure the impact of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter? I mean, what? And he's in the movie for what? It's like 15 minutes total or 16, something like that. Like,
started a wave of these type of movies. You got the Along Came a Spider and the Bone Collector.
Oh yeah,
all these type of movies like jumped off from this.
Well, even other movies had Hannibal Lecter, like Backdraft had the arson, had Donald Sutherland, who they had to go question because he's an arsonist who's locked up and they have to question him. It's like that. Every single movie had to have somebody that was locked up in a cell someplace. With Copycat, remember Copycat had Harry Connick Jr.
Oh yeah, Copycat.
Redneck Hannibal Lecter. So yeah, you can't. I mean, Jodie Foster and Jonathan Demme and Howard Shore's score is so good, but it's terrifying. And Buffalo Bill.
Oh yeah,
and that song, that awesome song he dances to.
Yeah, Goodbye.
Goodbye Horses.
So good. Yeah,
Goodbye.
The only
time I imagine that scene with like a normal rock song behind it.
I know.
And a cameo by George Romero.
Romero. And Roger Corman.
Oh, that's right.
As the director of the FBI.
Director of the FBI.
Oh yeah. Yeah, shit.
Forgot about that.
That's class, guys. That's class.
Moving on to number 23 on Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is Lost Boy.
The Lost Boy.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
That's
Is
a
it
hell of a
really
movie.
scary, or is a horror movie better than Silence of the Lambs or Creep Show?
No, but we're not talking about better. We're talking
I
about
know.
our favorites. So, and
It
the
says
Lost
greatest.
I mean,
Favorites.
but this is the film villains.
This
So
is-
you guys are honorary villains in this. So.
I mean, it's kind of like that Killer Clowns. Like, it's the gateway horror. Like, this is one of those
Absolutely.
ones that seeing
Yes.
10, 11, 12 years old, like, just, I was fucking so in love with it. It opened my
Exactly.
eyes up to this genre. And, I mean,
Yeah.
we all had a crush on Star, right? Like, every
Oh,
single
man.
person. Like, holy shit.
Still do.
And if not,
Oh.
Saxophone Man. Like, for
Yes.
sure.
That would be Tim Capello,
Yeah.
who was the saxophone guy for like Tina Turner and all these big bands.
Right.
Yeah. And
Why
he'll
Why do I
still,
know that?
He goes,
I
to,
don't know.
he goes to horror conventions and plays the song. So yeah. I
And
have
he's
these
wearing his chain
believes-
around his neck still.
Yeah.
This is another one that has a great soundtrack that goes with it that helped keep the Lost Boys in our daily lives for so many years of all of those, because it wasn't just like
Yes.
one song, it was a whole shit ton of awesome songs in there.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
creepy song where they're flying through the air over the carnival.
Cry Little Sister.
Cry Little Sister.
Right, sister.
But I mean,
Right.
again, this thing influenced, fashion and adding and the way they did their soundtrack and the look and the style and everything. I mean, this this movie was so much about the look as it was the movie for us, and the sound. There's a reason that this thing lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the pop culture impact is beyond the film for
And
sure.
it's just so much fun too. Like just the kids just running around in the small town, having a blast. But then they're like, "Oh, my brother's fucking now turning into a vampire," and this is where I learned a lot of the rules about vampires. I think it came from this.
Where does he get the answers from? The comic book store.
Yes,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
it's a huge ensemble too. I like the ensemble. I like the way it's one of those rare movies where the ensemble is, everybody gets enough screen time. Like it's not something where it's like, oh, this guy doesn't get. I mean, what Edward Herman, you know what I mean? Like there's everybody's. It's a fantastic. It's great, and I love the music. I love everything about it. It's just,
And the special effects are amazing.
Yes,
they're great.
Yep.
And Nanook, so Spooky will appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, number 22 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, wait, you guys think this should have been higher or lower on the list?
I think it should have been higher.
I think it should have been higher.
You guys, we have a lot of hires.
Higher.
Then. I don't even think I put this on my list. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's great, but it's not what I revisit all the time. It's awesome.
And especially after seeing the this prequel that just came out, I finally sat down and watched it, and I was just disgusted all the way through.
Wow.
You watched
Really?
what?
Wow.
The new one?
There's a prequel called Apartment 7A.
Apartment 7A.
Yeah, no, but you saw it already?
Yeah, I watched.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
did?
watched it.
Okay.
It's on Paramount Plus right now.
Oh, got it.
It's
Okay.
streaming right now.
I didn't even realize it was a prequel to this.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's so funny is
And you won't when you watch it either, for the most part.
Well, a lot of the stuff, I think that the way they on the streaming, when you pull it up anyway, they put Apartment 7 before Rosemary's Baby. So they think, oh, you should watch these. And I actually just let Rosemary's Baby play after that. And it's just so stark. It's so shocking, the differences and just creativity, the camera work, the pacing, the vibe of the cinematography and just the atmosphere of the entire movie. How the other one is just, man, it makes it look even worse.
Right.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways, you could look at this movie, in equivalence to other what would now be called slow burn horror. This was sort of the template for that in a way, if there is a template. But it was definitely like the grandfather of those type of movies. But it just sucks you in with the performances and the story and everything else.
Beautiful.
I think it gives a masterclass also on just composition too. Like, I think when you're watching this movie, there's so many scenes where you would think nowadays, oh, we would cut to the OTS, we would cut to the close-up.
Right.
And it just stays in those moments.
And being scary without being overtly scary.
Yeah.
Like Ruth Gordon coming in and befriending her, and then fucking seeing her at the end. Fucking creepy bitch. All right, moving on to number 21 of Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Films of All Time. It is Gremlins. Woo!
Yeah.
Well deserved, I'd say.
Another Corey movie. We got a couple times now.
2 Corey movies.
Maybe more on this list, I assume.
Yeah, there might be, or might be one that missed the.
Dream a Little Dream is definitely on that list.
For sure. License to Drive.
I really like that Gremlins is like confused about its own identity, and that that is its identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you could tell that they weren't 100% sure when they were making it. Like, okay, maybe we'll do a take where this is funnier. I don't know, but it just feels like, oh, are we making this kind of ET-ish? Are we making this kind of a kids movie? It's like, no, this is. But then it gets super scary, and then the scary has funny in it. It's just one of those movies where it's making up. It's very Joe Dante, and I think that's part of its magic.
It made part 2 seem so jarringly different.
Right.
When they sort of got rid of all the horror aspects and just went into the Looney Tunes of it. But boy, one was another one of these gateway movies where we all saw it as kids. Kids now see it as kids and go, this is just great. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it hits all the marks right.
Yeah, we had this and Ghostbusters in the same year, and that was like my gateway drug. Besides Watcher in the Woods, like in 1984, those two movies were
they the same
ones.
day? Were they?
I don't think it was
released
the same
on
day.
day?
No,
Wow.
I doubt. Really?
They were close if they weren't the same day.
And another.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another little, as you looked that up, another little fact that Ghoulies was shot at the exact same time, and Charlie Band ran out of money, but it was put out a year later because he had to go get more money. But there would have been two movies at the same time, that just like this. But this one also started the huge small little monster craze, from Munchies to Troll,
Critters.
June 8th,
Critters.
1984.
Both of them?
June 8th, both. Okay, came out on the same day.
No.
Wow.
Yep.
That summer was amazing. Holy shit.
Wow.
I think Gremlins was one of the first PG-13s.
And
it was not.
No, it was PG. It caused the PG-13 to be created.
Oh.
That
Okay,
and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Were those two films caused the rating board to create a PG-13 because they were so intense.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
And I think E.T. was re-released that summer. Or that point that year.
Re-releases were more common back then.
Or it was still playing because it was E.T.
Yeah. No, because I remember in 1984 when I saw it, and I came out in tears from the movie theater. But what a hell of a year that year. Moving on to number 20 of Film Villains, 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is American Werewolf in London. Top 20.
Nice.
Should be higher.
A perfect movie. Another perfect movie.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Nightmare Fuel blends not blends. It balances the comedy and the horror separately so well. It's just like, wow, master of doing that.
Yep. And great creature work, the Rick Baker creature work.
Transformative creature work in not just literally the movie, but the industry.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that even now people, that's the benchmark that if you've gone further, because not many have. When they have, they're not necessarily werewolves, but for transformations, it's still the most top, and it's fucking crazy old.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely prefer this movie over The Howling. I'm not a Howling fan, but this movie and the transformation.
Why not both?
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
There's room for both, pal.
No.
Why are you talking down on the other? Jeez.
It's just I actually
another same year double.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, do you think there would be The Thing, Rob Bottin's work in The Thing without this trend-setting movie?
No.
Or was
I mean,
I wonder if
it definitely helped inform for sure.
Yeah.
And another one with really great music, like really great use of
great music, great performances.
Yep.
I mean, it's the influence across the board. I mean, talk about Thriller. I mean, one of the biggest music.
The biggest.
The biggest, right?
Music video.
Am I saying?
It doesn't happen if this movie doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Also, Tom Cruise is the Mummy.
Really?
Wow. Oh yeah. Oh, it's a huge. Spoiler alert: Tom Cruise's partner dies, and literally kind of starts to haunt him, and they have this whole rapport thing, and it's straight out of American Werewolf.
Oh, Jared, save it because obviously that movie is like closer up to the top.
That's right. Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Talk about it when we get to it.
And both those guys are going to be at Monsterpalooza this year. And if you
Tom Cruise is
going to be at Monsterpalooza?
All right, number 19 on Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is The Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, classic.
Not Evil Dead, The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead.
I saw Evil Dead first. I am one of the. I'm sure, like, there's actually everybody. I'm sure in this. But the interesting thing is that people discovered the Evil Dead movies through either seeing Evil Dead 2 or, more specifically, they saw Army of Darkness first.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
me.
right.
I did that. I went 3, 2, 1 in my
See?
origin
Really?
story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been
Very
a
common.
very
Yeah.
strange experience for you, Alex.
They just kept getting better, but I'm born in '84, so I'm just that little bit behind.
Yeah.
But, fantastic.
Fangoria covered the shit out of Evil Dead, and so we all kind of knew. And so when it came out on VHS, I was like first day. And this is another one. This was one that was like it changed my life in a different way because it was post Creep Show. It came. I think we got it in '83. I know it's always listed as '81, but there's just everything about the way Sam Raimi decided to make this movie in terms of the visuals, in terms of the performances, and Bruce Campbell. It's like, well, how do you go back from that? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, here's this guy, and he's like changed everything, and now we've all got to kind of figure out how to catch up. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Like
think
19 or
where,
20
like we see this movie, now we're just living in the Sam Raimi world.
Yes. And especially all comedies afterwards too. I mean, they all got influenced by this, and especially Evil Dead 2, when it just became an actual Looney Tunes cartoon horror film.
Right. And it's interesting because the first one really isn't funny at all.
Yeah, but it's maniacal and it makes you laugh at the maniacal nature of it.
It's relentless.
It's insane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember my older brother was a bootlegger, so I got to see a lot of things at home or on VHS. So I saw this, and then I saw part 2. I couldn't wait for Army of Darkness to come out in theaters. And honestly, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to go in the direction it was going. I was a little disappointed, but
no one expected it.
No.
Yeah, it was like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah.
But
and
the
yet they
nice
make
thing is,
supercuts.
Jonathan, you and I have had like a connection with like through the editor of Army of Darkness, Bob Murawski, and everything else, with knowing the series a little better.
Moving on to number 18 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Scream. Yeah. Pretty high up on the list here.
Huh?
That's about where it should be.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Hunter, we're thinking about you right now. I know this is like Hunter's like fucking gateway.
This is his jam, right?
But
Yeah. Hunter's was trying to get back on, but he could not.
he's in a cabin. He's in Wisconsin. He's got shitty service. We've got to speak for him. But,
How many sequels does Scream have now currently?
They just keep making them.
I think there's 7 in total.
6, 7?
Yeah.
There's 7. There'll be 7 once they make
7.
So I
okay.
I remember when it came out, it never it changed filmmaking, obviously, and I don't know if maybe I didn't get what Wes was doing with it and everything, but I do remember I did a whole, what did they call it? Like, we just did a marathon at one of the theaters in Westwood where they showed 5 straight, and I just got a bunch of hot dogs and popcorn and sat through every single one. Then I actually appreciated that not only the first one, but the entire series is magnificent, even in the flaws of the sequels.
Even if they start getting more and more ridiculous.
Yeah, they get crazy. They get crazy. But I really enjoy this first one and what he was doing. I mean, obviously how it changed all of the slashers after that in the 90s. So,
because every character became aware that horror movies existed,
right?
So they knew.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is great.
We had a bunch of imitators that didn't really understand what Scream was doing. Like, we had a bunch of serious. They took the WB. You know, they took the hot young actors and put them into slasher movies, PG-13. Light R slasher movies. But they didn't understand what made Scream work. It's fascinating. I like a lot of those movies as guilty pleasures, but when you look at that whole run, it's wild how Scream got it, and so many of those other movies didn't at all.
I mean, this movie is worthy of a list for the first 10 minutes alone.
Oh,
yes.
That opening scene is fucking fire.
I sat the whole.
It's directed at an inch of its life.
Yeah, I thought she was in on it.
Yeah. You thought she was the star and everything.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 17 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Child's Play.
Oh,
Child's
yeah.
Play.
Yeah.
Child's Play.
It's a very surprising entry here, I think. Even though
Really?
we all love it, it's
love
not
it, though.
surprising for me because it's huge on my list, but I didn't think it would be this high.
I think it's just like Alex. I think you and I are around the same age. It's like we were talking about Killer Clowns. We were talking about Lost Boys. For me, Child's Play was huge, and definitely had a huge influence on me. I even made a movie about a puppet because of it. So,
yeah, Black Devil Doll. I was
gonna say, what is that movie, and where can people find it?
Yes, where can people find it?
Insight about you.
Black Devil Doll is actually, there is one streaming service which I don't even remember which one right now off the top of my head. It's out of print on DVD, but we're working on bringing it back to the masses so people can see it back.
Nice.
But yeah, man, just even with the doll, the effects that were done in Child's Play are through the roof. I mean, it's another level. From the storyline of just a personal story of like a mother losing not only her friend but losing her child. It's a crazy story, and it just hit on every level. When I was a kid, I believed I wanted a Chucky, and it's wild. I don't even know where to go.
Did you not have friends, Jonathan?
Oh yeah, no. I was tormented by two older brothers. So yeah.
You needed a new
friend to the end.
And actually, we have Alex Vincent. That kid, Alex Vincent, is in one of these books. I forget. It might be two or three. My favorite one.
He's so good in that movie.
Oh
that
man,
scene where he's he's locked up and he said Chucky's coming to get him, and he starts pulled up in the wall and he starts falling. So good. That kid is so good in that movie.
And I just want to point out, just quickly, the director of photography is the director of photography of Jaws, and the executive producer went on to executive produce the Lord of the Rings series. So, not to mention Tom Holland.
Yeah, let's make sure
we'll talk about him later.
Yeah, let's mention that Tom Holland guy, because I mean I've been fortunate enough to shoot some stuff with him. I got to go to his house and hang out with his Chucky doll, and I'm like, oh man, this is so fucking cool. And it was in the box. It was part of, from the first film, of course. But one thing that Tom Holland says, and that Don Mancini and the rest don't say, is that he was the originator of the actual form of Chucky and what it was and how it came out. And
he doesn't get the voodoo angle, I believe.
Yeah, and the voodoo angle and all that, and
that he never gets any credit for anymore.
He does not get credit, and I'm sure that chaps his high a little bit, but we'll give a shout out to Tom Holland. He deserves all the credit because he made this fucking amazing movie.
So much fucking fun, and
made Chucky who he is. So let's do number 16. It is Poltergeist.
Man.
Yeah, pretty good spot.
Pretty good list there.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. I worked with Toby Hooper for a couple of years on a kind of project that didn't come to fruition. Had many conversations with him about Poltergeist, and he was a hero of mine and a father figure and a kind of a colleague and a partner. And so I feel a real attachment to this. But I told Toby the story, and this is 100% true. When I went to go see, my father brought me to see Poltergeist, despite the PG rating. I was it was 9 or 10. My dad brought me, and when the clown doll grabbed Robbie, I literally jumped into my dad's lap. And I know that people say they jumped out of their seat, or that I literally jumped into my dad's lap. I'd never had a horror movie scare me that bad as Poltergeist, but it's the Jerry Goldsmith music. It's the camera work. I mean, it's a singular movie. It's an absolutely singular ghost story and one of my all-time favorite horror movies.
Did you ever talk to Toby about the rumor that Spielberg secretly directed Poltergeist and all that?
I did.
So tell us
oh my God. Well, so I mean, here's the thing. People don't understand how filmmaking works, how the industry works, and basically what Toby came up with the idea for this movie. It was his concept. Spielberg went to him with an entirely other project and Toby wasn't interested in that project and said, I've always wanted to do like the ultimate ghost story. And they started talking and working this thing out, but it was originated with Toby making that pitch. And basically the idea is you've got Steven Spielberg as your producer. He also wrote the screenplay. And so it's Steven Spielberg and he's on set and he is way too invested in this. How do you remove Steven Spielberg? So basically what you have is you have a fusion of it's very much a Tobe Hooper movie. It's very much a Spielberg movie. It is directed by Tobe Hooper, and anybody that says otherwise is an idiot and an asshole. And the fact of the matter is that when directors are hired by high-powered producers, oftentimes you're making their movie.
Yeah, talk to Guillermo del Toro.
It's just reality. And if you don't understand that, you don't know filmmaking, you don't know this industry.
I think it just shows his span of how great of a director he was to go from his first film to this. And it's just amazing. I think that's bullshit too. That the whole rumor about Spielberg.
Just the tree branch, on the window and the. But
the guy ripped his face off in the mirror.
No matter what, just this little girl staring into a fucking screen of static, and that we all had that when we were kids. Like we had that TV, when you fell asleep, and sometimes you'd wake up and the channel the network had gone off air or whatever, and you wake up and there's like static going on, or the TV, the power goes out and back on, and what the fuck? Why is it static?
There was definitely something that kids today won't be able to relate to, which is there was something unsettling about hearing the national anthem play and then it just going to snow. Digital snow, like whatever, analog snow. There was something unnerving about that only a certain generation can really relate to.
They call me old. What the hell?
You specifically, Spooky.
All right.
I want to, Jared.
That's our.
Did they say? Did he talk anything about? There's a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, sure.
Did he talk?
Little
about
girl lost. Yeah.
I never really pushed him on that subject. I know that, if you want to look at it kind of in a way that's a little on the both charming and incriminating side, Richard Matheson wrote Little Girl Lost, and the Poltergeist is very similar to Little Girl Lost. And then Richard Matheson got hired to write Twilight Zone, the movie, which, was made. Interesting. So I think that there was some, hey, yes, we maybe kind of adapted Little Girl Lost into a movie and forgot to credit you. So why don't we give you this job?
All right, moving on to number 15 of Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Hellraiser. Clive Barker. It's an interesting.
So influential for me. My God.
One of the villains, the greatest villains of all time. Shout out to Pinhead and the Cenobites.
Spawned a lot of sequels.
My first Fangoria convention in Pasadena was a couple years after this film came out, and I went and I bought everything I could find that was Hellraiser. I was so obsessed with this movie, more so than I should have been. But
I was super excited. One time I was in this very small film festival. I forgot what it was called, my short film, The Summoners. And it played right before Hellraiser. It was actually at the Jump Cut Cafe. I don't know if you guys were there at that point, that festival. But and Doug Bradley was there too. So my movie got to play right before he got to talk. So I was quite
my first tattoo was a Cenobite.
Really?
The cover from number 7 of the comic, the Brereton cover. I think it was.
Where did you put that Cenobite?
That's the one that's up here.
There you go.
So that was my first one, and then I got the Beasley pinhead on my calf. Hellraiser was it for me for so long.
Yeah. Funny enough, this was one that I missed in theaters. So the first time I saw it was on the New World Home Video VHS tape, which had the old grandma with a fake cat, like going,
"Oh my God,
here,
remember that?
Oh, we're gonna watch a scary movie.
Oh, really?
Hellraiser!" And that was the opening to it, and it was like, this is so weird. because it led to an infomercial of like, oh, buy Hellraiser merchandise from New World.
Oh my god!
Oh,
And
shit.
then it was like, and then the movie starts, and it was like unlike anything I had ever seen. I was way too young, had no idea about S&M or bondage or anything. Thank you, Clive. Thanks, Clive.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, we
even
all
more
got
so than that.
He had such sights to show me, and boy, did he.
That opened up a world of his books to me, and boy, Hellraiser's probably like a PG Disney movie compared to some of his books.
Yeah,
And when you're probably 11, 12, 13 reading these things and just like, oh, wow, things are not the same as I thought they were going to be out there. Wow.
And the thing is, you know, with the Hellbound Heart,
in a dictionary.
yeah, and the thing is with the story, it wasn't in the books of blood. So if you had even like through Fangoria or something known about Clive Barker beforehand, you maybe didn't know this story unless you were like hardcore anthology novel, collection collector. So yeah, this changed a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Moving on to number 14 of Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Suspiria.
Suspiria.
Yeah.
Should be way higher.
Yeah.
Way higher.
Oh man.
Oh, look at that. Somebody's alarm.
Where do you begin? I mean,
years and years ago, when I worked at Bloody
opening
Disgusting, I would run into actors who would be like, I don't really know anything about horror. I don't want to sound stupid. And I told every one of them, go home, watch Suspiria, and figure out what you like about it. And then the next time you get interviewed, talk about it. And then everyone will appreciate it, because it's true. It's one of those ones that it's really not for everybody. It's not like Poltergeist where anyone can watch it and enjoy it. It's really for us, right? And there's so much good stuff in there. There's a million we could have a 2-hour podcast just about this one movie, as we could most of these movies. But this one in particular has so much going on that it's like, wow. And I don't think I put it in my top 10, but it should be higher. I agree with all of you on that. Like,
that's a good point, because this is one of those movies, and probably one of the only movies on this list that's just for us, because the general public has no fucking clue what this movie is at all. No one watches this movie. I mean, what I really love about this movie is the color, the photography, and the lighting. Yeah. I mean, the camera work, of course, but the lighting. I mean, you have that one scene where it's the two girls and the fucking the door. The room is blue, and then the door opens, and it's one color, and then the door opens, and it spills blue on the other inside the room, and then she goes out into the hallway, and then it's like fucking another color, and then she goes up the stairs, and it's green, and it's like, oh, it's just heaven for me to watch. I mean, obviously, I love fucking color, lighting, So
and that's tried to do that, Christian and Spooky, on the TV thing.
Yeah, one of your shorts.
Forest.
Oh yeah. With the witches. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I starred in that one, didn't I?
It's a fever. It's a fever dream. This movie is a fever dream.
Yeah, it is.
Out of so many, sorry to interrupt. Out of so many, this movie is pure art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolute beautiful movie. And I was in Belgium, and I pulled up to a castle on a rainy night by myself. It was my first time in Belgium. And I get out of the car, and I fucking stare at the castle, and it's just the lights coming down, and I felt like Jessica Harper in the beginning of this movie. I was just in heaven. I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking finally in Europe. And I'm finally here. It's my second time in Europe, but like finally here. And it's like, oh my God, this is the best. So yeah.
The whole dream aspect of it, it's like certain movies you can kind of feel like, oh, we're going into a dream, or we're in a dream instantly. It's like as soon as this movie opens, even before the airport doors come open, you're starting to hear this music just ding, 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 and you're already realizing, oh man, what is happening? Where I'm in some sort of weird, crazy horror wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's great.
I just made a music video, and I showed the DP scenes from this movie right before, so we knew how to light. So
nice.
All right, moving on to number 13. We're at the top 13 here, guys. Let's do this. Number 13 of Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Black Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think Black Christmas is arguably better than Halloween. I'm gonna
Really?
say it. Yeah.
really?
You know what? You're onto something there.
I go back and forth, but for the most part, because I just love the movie so much, it's one of my favorites. I tend to lean like I think it's better. There's a lot of aspects to it.
It definitely influenced it.
We don't have enough
Sure.
time to go into that, but
Yeah. It was
But
an
yeah.
influence. I mean, like besides
Yeah,
Peeping Tom in this movie were like probably the POV shots really
Right.
influenced.
You're just trying to be classy and bringing Peeping Top into this whole thing. Come on.
You know, I feel like this is the first time I'm surprised on the list.
Really?
'Cause, I wouldn't think this would have made it to the top 31, and it's a great movie, but it's not one that I feel like everybody loves, like The Lost Boys or Poltergeist.
I think it's because because of the season and everything else. You don't probably think about Black Christmas being one of the greatest horror movies because you watch it more. If you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it more towards Christmas.
no, because
it's Halloween season.
But
But it absolutely is.
Spooky Dan's favorite Christmas horror movie is Sleigh Bells. It just happens to be on his list too.
I actually had this. I think 12th. No, I'm sorry. It was like 16th on my list, but
Very high on mine too.
Yeah, it was super high on mine. And I mean, Bob Clark, for a guy that kind of like left horror and became a journeyman who just did comedy, he did drama, did action, did everything. I mean, my God, the first 3 things that he did basically were horror movies, and he was so good at it. He was so good at it. Black Christmas.
But that's the thing about Bob Clark. He was so good at so many genres. He made classics in the horror genre, the comedy genre, and the family genre.
Yep, and he made a Sherlock Holmes. He made a Sherlock Holmes movie. That's
you see that within Black Christmas. You see that balance. I think Dave, you were talking about that before. The balance, like having the humor in the horror, and it all fits just perfectly.
And he had that good 10-year run with Porky's and Christmas Story. Man, it's just a wild run. But I got to work on his last movie. I didn't even know it was him until I got to set. And I didn't even know he was directing the movie. I was just kind of in transpo, and I found Ralph Konevsky shows up on set. This is probably like 20 years ago, maybe a few months before Bob Clark got into that car accident. Ralph Konevsky shows up. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? He was like, I wrote the movie and I'm here to collect my money, but these motherfuckers didn't tell me they were filming my script. And so
he was there to meet Bob Clark.
And he was like, dude, probably there too. And he was like, yo, Bob Clark is directing. I'm like, no fucking way. So I got to meet his son and talk to his AD who worked on all the movies with him from Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things On. So it was but I never got to meet Bob Clark. Either way,
I know we're past the time, but a real quick Bob Clark story. He showed up to the set of Grace, Paul Solit's short movie, before he made it into a feature.
Really?
And so we're all going. The Icons of Fright guys found him and invited him in, and so he was just there to say hi. And he had no idea until that moment. And gosh, this has to be like 2005, 6. He had no idea that horror fans really loved his shit. And shortly after that, he started doing conventions and meeting people. And then, because he was at sort of a lull in his career at that point, and suddenly he was like, he had this new zest for life because the horror fans were like, are you nuts? We all fucking love you. This is great. So it was really cool being around him when that moment was happening for him. It was really awesome.
Yeah, I saw him in 2006 at the New Art, and they screened Black Christmas, and he did a great Q&A and talked about all the, just how they made it, everything. And then they even talked about Carpenter, because somebody brought up, they said, hey, did Carpenter, what's going on with that? Was Halloween your movie? He's like, no, that was John's movie, and John did it the way he wanted to do it. But he was just delightful. It was great. Yeah. So I'd never forget that.
He was a great guy.
All right. Though, it's a great movie to see in the theater, but what is also a great movie to see in the theater is our number 12 of Film Villains, 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is Alien. Did not crack the house.
Wow. Number 12.
Yeah.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, we are. We gotta stay tuned until the end. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around. Yeah, but
God
Alien.
help you.
I was just watching
I saw it
the
at the Egyptian Theater in '79.
Really. God
Yeah.
damn. And did it change your life?
It scared the shit out of me and made me afraid of any time as a little kid I had a stomach ache or anything like that. I freaked the fuck out. Smacked me around. Just fucking stop it. Nothing's coming out of you.
That fucking chest burster scene is amazing.
And it's another perfect storm. It's another situation where you have Dan O'Bannon's, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Schutz's scripts, and then you have Hill and Giler coming in, and then you have Ridley Scott, and you have Dan O'Bannon bringing in H.R. Giger and the Jerry Goldsmith score again. It's just like all of the idea that they took, this was something that O'Bannon had picked up from the abandoned version of Dune, was the idea of different departments handling different worlds, different aspects of the movie. Right. So the spaceships and the spacesuits were being designed by someone different than was designing the alien life cycle and things like that. And my God, just the grandeur of it, and the cast. The cast is so perfect, and the improvisational vibe and the blue collar vibe. I mean, it changed once again. It
changed everything.
I mean, I think Alien, like Jaws before it, and this sort of progression of things, took the sort of what would be at the time considered the B movie concept and really elevated it to this A level.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, basically a haunted house on a spaceship.
Yeah.
And pretty much every single spaceship horror movie, and there were millions that came out after this, and they all tried to emulate the look and the feel of this movie.
And Ridley as our star, I remember reading that was a male character in the original script.
Oh, Ripley,
and so
that was a Walter Hill thing. Actually, that was a Walter Hill thing. Walter Hill turned Ripley into a woman.
Oh.
When he did his pass at the script, which is a fascinating script to read, because the Walter Hill writing style at that time became very influential.
Right. Is who added the android or the because that came later too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That I don't know.
My understanding is that the Ash being an android that was planted in the crew as a pretending to be human, that was all added by Hill and Giler. That was not in the O'Bannon and Shusett draft.
And that was a hell of a year for Walter Hill with the Warriors too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another hell of a year for cinema was 1960. Can you guess what movie is our number 11 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time? It is
Psycho.
I'm amazed this should be top 10 easily.
Yeah. I had, Alien. I had as 2.
Really?
Well, I guess we should just change it all now.
Should have had it at number 1.
All wrong.
I mean, we've been talking about horror movies that change everything, but Psycho literally changed everything.
Yeah, modernized horror.
There's there's before Psycho and there's after Psycho.
Yes, that is very true. And Peeping Tom. Well, we gotta throw Peeping Tom in there again. Even though it got kind of banned.
You know what? The bottom line is Psycho's better.
Yes, it is.
But Dave, you're absolutely right with modernized. This is like that first contemporary or big contemporary movie of horror. It's like, even in the late 50s, you had the Hammer horror movies that were they were doing the Universal movies.
Right.
But
there were monster movies before this. This is where it comes horror.
Exactly. And
Dark House.
And then the caveat of killing off the star, like that whole thing is huge. It was
hadn't been done really.
Nope.
Yeah,
didn't hire a big name to kill them off at the 35 minute mark. That was not how you made movies back then.
Yeah, just like Scream.
So it's interesting when you look at the poster though, it's like and Janet Leigh. So it was like they weren't, at least this version of the poster, they're not promoting her as the star to the way they did Drew Barrymore in Scream.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And
I
then
think another thing that's really cool about it is even now by today's standards, where all of our jaded horror guy versions of everything is, we've seen it all before. This one feels fresh every time you watch it. You know what's coming, and it's so masterfully done that it's just incredible filmmaking school.
Which is really surprising when you think of a movie from 1960.
Right.
It's still affecting modern audiences.
Black and white.
Seen everything.
Yeah.
About 20 years ago, like I was getting out of college, and I had a friend that had never heard of Psycho, never heard of like the didn't know about the shower scene, nothing. So I said, "Oh, well, we have to watch it." And I just took notes. So I was watching them watch the movie, and it held up. It's true. They got scared at the right moments. They didn't get that it was Norman Bates, and it was amazing. They thought there was the mother up in the upstairs in the house. Wow, it was
Yeah, it's a wild concept too. The cross dressing. All right, so before we move on to our top 10, I just want to make sure that anyone post a comment below. Tell us if we're wrong about anything. Tell us what we're missing. Tell us what should be in. See if you can guess your top 3, whatever you like. We have 37 autographs on this book. We have two each on this one, including Felissa Rose. So we have 3 books to give away. Make sure to comment. We'll be giving those away. And make commenting.
Jared will sell you his copy for the right price.
Yeah, Jared. Yeah. I'm gonna have to just send some to Jared. He should be our salesperson here. All right, let's get it. All right, number 10. Here we are. The Villains, 31 greatest horror movies of all time. This one you might be surprised. Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
One of the best.
Yep.
An incredible.
Should be higher.
Incredible
Should be higher.
Yeah, and it's
The
kind of
highest.
yeah,
We should go all the way up to 0 so that it can be up there.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that 2 Dan O'Bannon movies are in the top 12 at least. You know, right next to each other. Alien and this movie.
Well, and looking at our lineup of our guests here, of all of us, this hit all of us so perfectly at such a right time. It's rock and roll. It's cool. It's fun. It's a little dirty. It's got all of the right things that we love about horror and celebrates the fun of horror from start to finish.
It's a way of life.
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's my favorite zombie movie.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
it might be mine.
I can throw this on anytime.
Yeah.
And just be happy. I absolutely love this movie. I love the writing. I love the performances, the energy, the music. Like Dan said, everything about this thing. Yeah, it's my favorite zombie movie. And with respect to Romero, because this movie wouldn't exist without him, but still.
But this is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about it. I mean, for me, it felt so perfect because not only was I discovering punk at the time and all kinds of horror that I was going to go rent and everything else, but there were things that I recognized that just felt like home, even though it's supposed to be Kentucky. We all know it's Los Angeles and the 6th Street Bridge and everything else. So this was the movie for me. And so, I mean, I got the poster tattooed on my thigh.
So hell yeah.
Prove it. Come on.
Hopefully it's your inner thigh. Let's go. All right, so let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum, but a handful of years earlier. Our number 9 is Film Villains, 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah.
I love The Shining.
Yep.
Oh man, The Shining is the one that I can throw on any old time. I do. I put it on constantly. There's something about it. I saw it way too young, and it just got into my DNA. And there's so much about the Kubrickian, aesthetic, the way it's shot, the Steadicam stuff, and his needle drop scores along with the Wendy Carlos stuff. I am always chasing The Shining with everything that I write and everything that I try to make. It's just Oh, absolutely. And I know it's controversial. I know it.
You mean you're always chasing destroying an adaptation? Like
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I love all the movies that talk about the conspiracy theories about it.
Oh, that's fascinating. All the stuff on YouTube.
There's 100 of them, and they're all like,
fascinating.
They're
fascinating.
Yeah.
There's so much in that going on so many levels.
Yeah.
But the carpet.
We could go on all day about The Shining.
Don't we all want to have a big house with that carpet in our hallway?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's an ugly carpet, guys.
And an elevator.
Orange and brown. It's like
it is ugly, but it is so fucking iconic.
But it works.
I mean, just like Suspiria, I want that skylight too. You know, gotta have one of those someday.
On a morbid note, one of my good friends who had passed, the month before he passed, the last place he went was to the Overlook Hotel, and he was sending me pictures. He sent me the elevator.
He went to the Timberline.
Yeah, and I had The Shining on this week, and then it just dawned on me. I was like, wait, that's the last place my friend went. I was like,
wow.
Amazing.
Oh, shit.
Wow. And we just lost Shelley Duvall, and Shelley Duvall does not get the credit that she deserves.
Yeah.
Her performance because Jack is Jack, but she is so fucking good in that movie, and she's holding her own. And you know, I mean, granted, the torture that she went through making it and everything else, but like she is just, you know, in there swinging. And
her performance is probably one of the greatest horror performances of all time.
Seriously.
I mean, top 10, top 20, you can probably throw it in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah. All right. Is that already our time? Oh, look at that. Is that our second one?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Perfect timing. Look at that. All right. Number 8 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Eric, what do you think of this one? You've been quiet.
I think it's one of the best movies of all time. I mean, it basically created zombies as we know them today.
Yeah.
And they shot the picture for what, $180,000, and it was just some kids from Pittsburgh.
I think less. I think they started with 60,000. Wasn't it in the can shot for like 60 grand?
Really?
It was really cheap.
It was cheap.
Yeah.
What was it? 10 guys, and they all put 10K or something in.
That's how they started. No, 10 guys. They all put in they got like 6 grand. They all put in $1,000.
Yeah, right.
So they started with just that.
And this probably was the first independent horror or independent film that was like the biggest of all time, like box office hit. Maybe Easy Rider later.
And
later,
but just a year later.
We because of the whole copyright fiasco, we have absolutely no idea. There's only people have ideas about how much money Night of the Living Dead made when it ran theatrically for 30 years. But no one really knows because there was so many bootleg copies that were floating around and people were printing it, running it and not getting permission. But all the needle drop stuff and the fact that it's 1968, but it feels like something much older. And yet it's like, it's so ahead of its time in terms of the gore, in terms of the horror, in terms of the social commentary. So it's this really weird, when you watch it today, I don't think people realize that when we were watching it on TV a lot in the 70s and the 80s, it was like, this movie feels like something from the 50s, but it's so modern and scary. But the music and the performances, everything, the black and white, there is no other movie like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, he pretty much took his cues from probably 1962's Carnival of Souls, which was another, very unknown.
Partially, this is one of those movies where all the limitations that they had, they made work for them.
Yeah,
that you can't replicate. There's just it's a very, very special. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying anything new. It's a very special movie.
Yeah, maybe he was taking some other cues from like Hitchcock's like Rogue or Lifeboat, where you have just a small amount of characters and their drama.
I would say there's the two big influences. I know we got to move on. Matheson's I Am Legend, and the adaptation, the film adaptation of I Am Legend, the first one, Last Man on Earth, with Vincent Price.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch that movie, it feels like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And it's odd. It's a really it's not as good a movie at all, but it's a pretty solid movie, but it feels like Night of the Living Dead in a way that is like unique to Night of the Living Dead. So I always am like, oh, it's interesting. You can actually kind of smell the influence when you're watching.
Yeah, I found the book and the Last Man on Earth version or movie because of Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
You know, just
Sure.
So all movies we should definitely watch for sure. Or if you have not seen them, but all right, moving on to number 7 of Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time. It is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm amazed it's this low.
Really?
I am amazed it is this low. If you have Psycho lower than this, I'm amazed it's this low.
I don't know what's going on.
I regard this higher than Psycho for sure. So this was
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Yeah. Hey, no, it's my favorites. You know, we're talking favorites.
I think Christians cooked the books.
No, because it would be number 1 then.
No, definitely not. No, the fucking Bram Stoker's Dracula would be number 1, but none of you guys, only 2 of you motherfuckers only put it on there besides.
Some of us have 10. Oh.
I'm a Christian on that.
Right word.
Spooky Dan and Jared, back me up, motherfuckers.
Oh yeah.
I like
Awesome.
Bubble
I
Shot.
all love the thing.
It was on my
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
It was on my list for sure.
Thing's a
The Thing,
perfect
man.
movie.
The Thing is an amazing movie. And
Is there anything wrong? Name it. Someone come at me. Spudik, someone come at me. What's wrong with this movie?
Nope.
No naked
Nothing
girls.
wrong.
There's
There
no
you
girls.
go.
There's no naked
There you
girls.
go.
Yeah, there's no chicks. Yeah.
Nope.
But there is probably like there's got to be like a Playboy on someone's wall.
You're probably
Something
right about
cool.
that.
Yeah.
There's a
No naked
female
girls,
voice.
but plenty of boobs.
Right.
There's
It's Adrian No, it's
Adrian
Jimmy Lee
Barbeau.
Jimmy Lee Curtis's voice. No, or
No,
is it
it's
Adrian
Adrian-
Barbeau?
I think it's Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, if you're into phallic things, there's a lot of that.
And even if you're not,
you
There's a lot
can
of
still
that.
be into girls and be into phallic things. You know,
That's
you
right.
got
Nothing
a
wrong
few
with
like
it.
rockets and stuff, right? So, but
What an awesome like showcase of cool special effects to show
Yes.
everybody. It doesn't have to be just blood and guts and what we wanted at the time, and then this thing comes
Yeah.
out and we go, "Wow, what is
Yeah.
this? Holy shit!"
that's
Yeah.
probably the epitome
it's
of.
still
Is this the
works.
epitome of fucking practical effects in the 80s?
yeah, I think it is I think it is
The pinnacle.
even above Rick Baker and stuff. It is the standard
agree.
which all practical makeup effects have to live up to, and has not been eclipsed yet.
Nope.
From 1982.
Yeah.
That's how good they were.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. Totally agree. And the suspense, the script, the
The
paranoia.
acting, the score,
My God.
all of
Oh,
it. The
everything about it.
photography.
Yep. And it
And
hangs-
the
and it-
ending that's still debated to this day.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know?
And it fucked Carpenter up. The bad reviews fucked Carpenter up
Yep.
for 14 years afterwards. He told me this.
Yep.
Really?
The failure of this movie psychologically fucked him up in the head for 14
Wow.
years.
No shit.
Wow.
And when did it stop? In the mid 90s?
I don't know, maybe around They Live, maybe Vampires, because Vampires was opened up to number 1 and stuff like
Right.
that. I'm not exactly
Okay.
sure.
Wow.
Shit. All right. Well, moving on to number 6 on Film Villains 31 greatest horror movies of all time. To no surprise, it is Jaws.
God.
What? 6?
Should be number 1.
My God. Yeah, again, it's amazing. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that this is not number
Yeah.
1 because
Shut
every-
up, Dad.
This is number 1.
Man.
I
I
agree.
love it
No.
like everybody else, but it's not the best horror movie of all time.
It's not a horror movie?
All right, fair enough. Fair
It's
enough.
not the
Says not
best
the
horror.
best.
Not the best, he says.
I think this is the first
It
one that
is.
is
It's
in the
Jaws.
position that I had it on my list.
Oh,
I
really?
had this- Yep.
It's
Yep.
probably the first time in history where somebody mentions coffee ice cream.
Coffee ice cream.
Their sales must have gone way up.
No, he
I'm not
wants
gonna talk
coffee.
I won't tell the whole coffee ice cream story.
Yeah,
He
don't tell
wants
him.
coffee.
I know it definitely holds up. I showed my 9-year-old niece, and then now she's obsessed with like Jaws shark movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you got a lot of garbage to swim through there.
Yeah.
Again, perfect movie.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
What more needs to be said? The
Yep.
poster, this done.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the music.
And the music. Oh, the John
Fucking
Williams.
abuse the
speech.
shit out of 2 notes like nothing else.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. Great performances. Scheider, Dreyfus, Shaw on that boat.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Great dialogue.
The drunk scene.
The Indianapolis speech alone.
There you go.
That's it. That's it.
The guys on the pier. The guys on the pier
Oh,
with
that's a lot of
with the roasts, with the holiday roast.
$10,000 can buy off a lot of roast.
A lot of roast.
Oh, what?
Oh my
did you
god!
hear
Get out of my head, Dave.
Out of the water now.
I almost said that.
Tiger shark. A what?
What?
This review just became the quoting of the entire
That's
movie.
one bad hat, Harry.
What's the first line of the movie? Who's got it? Trivia. I don't know.
What's your name again?
What's your name here? Crypty. Where are we going? Swimming.
There you have it.
Nice,
That's why
nice.
Dave wins.
I love
All
Quick's
right.
little friend that was kind of edited out that looked like a little Ed Gein
Oh,
following him around town.
I'm not going after that pesky shark. I'm not crazy. You guys ever watch the deleted scenes?
Oh yeah, I ain't going on that boat,
Yeah.
Mr.
yeah.
Quinn. I ain't going out of that shop.
I'm not crazy. So good.
What do you guys out there think is the top 5 greatest horror
Holy
movies of our time, according
This
to
is
us?
scaring me now.
Right,
Getting
I'm
there.
afraid of what's
All
going to
right.
show up.
I have no idea where
Here
this
we
is
go. Moving on to number 5. Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
going. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right.
For
All
another
right.
I'll
round.
go with that.
And this is the first movie that was on all 10 of our lists.
Nice.
Score 71 points out of 100.
Wait, I didn't put this on my list. I thought I guess I did later.
Why that? Go on.
Yeah, it was on
Put
every-
Evil Dead on. I remember that.
Is this
Yeah.
the first time on this list that we've had both an original and a sequel?
Yeah.
I think
Uh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
until
some
we get to number 1, which is going to be Scream 4.
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's Peeping Tom.
I thought it was sophomore. Okay.
Well,
I mean,
you know,
it's going to become redundant to say each one of these now is like a perfect movie, but
Yes.
there we
Yeah.
go.
Well,
Here we
I mean,
are.
The combination
As a kid with Evil Dead 2, I think the thing that always cracked me up, I loved about the movie. I mean, there's so many things, but the little thing that I loved is when he's going after his hand and he's just who's laughing now as he's you know,
talking to his own hand.
That more than putting the books of Farewell to Arms on the
whole
bucket.
movie together. Who's laughing now? As he's, you know, cutting himself.
I loved as a kid when the marketing came out for this, and marketing wasn't like this then, right? Like horror movies didn't show you the goods. We saw it in Fangoria, but you didn't see it everywhere. And suddenly you see this everywhere. We're like, what is this thing with the eyeball flying across the screen? And like, holy shit, this was so fucking important and cool when we were all really young and to this day. Like it just holds up and is so much fun.
Might be the most fun you've had being scared.
Absolutely.
Ah,
This
yeah,
Absolutely.
because it is so maniacal and fucking hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable movie, and a rare sequel that is better than the first.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of a remake.
And it's an exact remake. It's a Looney Tunes remake of the original movie.
It's
Yeah.
With a
It's
little
not
bit
better.
of side
It's
story.
not
A
better.
little bit
It's,
more of a
it's
side
not
story.
better. It's different.
yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, it's completely different, but it's I think it's better.
Obviously, it's
I like it
better.
more.
It's number
I like
5.
it more. Yeah, it's number 5. God. Number 19. We put Evil Dead at number 19.
I mean, this was on repeat at the VHS. Was just we just had it. All right, rewind it, play it again.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Remember when we had to rewind things?
Yeah.
Eric's Pudding still rewinds things.
What the?
I still do.
But he He also winds things. It's his little toy. He has a secret stash.
But this movie also has great stop motion animation too.
Oh yeah, the fight
Yes.
skeleton.
Yep.
Amazing stuff. Yeah,
Groovy.
taking its cue from Ray Harryhausen.
Well, and there's like a storybook quality to it too. Like the driving across the bridge at the beginning, it's like, well, that's not real. Like that's not a real car on a real bridge. That's a background with it. And it's like, yeah, that's the reality of this movie. Are you in?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not, then there's the door. But like the rest of us, we're fucking invested in this weird storybook world that Sam Raimi's brought to us, you know?
Yeah, and if you can see it with an audience in a theater, it is one of the best experiences you could have for sure.
100%.
It's so much fucking fun. Moving on to number 4, Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Films of All Time. It is Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well deserved.
Flawless movie.
It is
quite
flawless.
is.
It is flawless. This might be Dave said The Return of the Living Dead's his favorite horror zombie movie. This might be my favorite zombie movie.
Yeah, it's between that and Return for me too.
This is my favorite zombie epic.
Yeah.
But
zombie epic.
Okay.
well, again, it is an epic. It's epic. That's what this movie is.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
epic. It's just on a rewatchability scale, because less time commitment too. But again, we're in the top 4 or 5 now. This is like they're all amazing.
Yeah.
And Christopher Jimenez here, he put the Argento cut. What is the Argento cut?
I had a caveat.
Yeah.
What is it about it that makes it better than the original theatrical or the other cut?
I agree.
Okay, well, most of you know that my problem with Stephen King, I don't like him. Same thing with Romero. I like Romero, but with this particular one, for me, it's too fucking long. I like Argento. He cut out 30 minutes. He tightened it up. And I know I'm in the minority on this, but that's me. I like Argento's version. He cut it down. He made it tighter. It works better for me. And that's why I put that caveat in there.
Do you like the music better too?
I'm sorry?
Do you like the music better too? Because Argento's has more goblin in it, I believe.
Yeah, it's almost entirely goblin.
It's definitely a different film in certain ways. But I like it better. But that being said, like Day of the Dead is my number 2 after Return of the Living Dead, which everybody thinks I'm crazy for. But
I love Day of the Dead. But
I think that comes from our age too, and when we saw them as well.
Yeah.
But I've grown.
Well, maybe you're about the same age, right, Dave?
Yeah, we're old as fuck. I mean, I mean, we're really young. We're really young. So
there you go, buddy.
Well, I was surprised when I found out about the Argento cut. I didn't know about that as a kid, and then like I loved the theatrical version, and then I heard it, and then I was already in love with Suspiria and with all of this Argento films, and I'm a huge Giallo fan, so I was like, wow, I got to see this, and yeah, it moves, it's fast, it's a different experience. So
yeah. Theatrical cut all the way for me. I don't like the Argento cut at all. So we're in like
really?
Oh man, can't stand the Argento cut. Hate it.
Oh my god.
And I think there's with this box set, that was probably the first time that there were all
I think there were like
cuts, right?
There was like a Japanese laser disc.
There's 4 cuts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a 4th one as well. But yeah, the Japanese laser disc. I remember seeing the Japanese laser disc version at a party once, and I got all the changes. I could talk about it all night. I mean, Dawn of the Dead is another. It's like Suspiria. We could just do 2 hours on Dawn of the Dead.
Oh god,
easy.
Yeah,
easily.
Moving on to number 3 of Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is The Exorcist. The classic.
Wow.
All right.
Number 3.
Wow. I like Spooky's reaction.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be higher. I'm a little shocked at this. So this is great.
Yeah, that's why we're talking everybody's favorites. And definitely this was another one on everyone. Like Dawn of the Dead was on 9 lists. This one was on 10 lists with a score of 75 out of 100.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's just so fucking good. It's
the
so
editing,
good.
the sound, is what I really take from it too. You know?
It takes everything so seriously and plays straight and is real. You just feel it feels real.
Especially if you're a Catholic.
If you were Catholic, if you were raised Catholic. Yeah.
And I was raised Catholic, and this movie still kind of scares the shit out of me a little bit. Versus all the other movies we've talked about are just entertainment at this point. This movie has a spooky attachment for sure.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
And I saw it when I was like 8 the first time, which is way too fucking young.
The first time I saw some of it, I was way too young.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But having her go to all those medical procedures and all the you know what I mean?
I appreciate this stuff. I appreciate that stuff later on.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was more about the effects and being shocked by that. The medical stuff didn't hit harder until later.
Right. But it gives it this reality, this believability. I mean,
the Iraq stuff at the beginning always unsettles me. Always unsettles me for some reason, because it's so, I don't know, there's something about it.
Dream State. It's weird. It's like 2001. It's the 2001 of horror film openings, you know?
Right. And it's one of those things where today they would, any producer or studio would be like,
get that out. Yeah. And how long is that? The sequence is like 10 minutes long or 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's like Friedkin was lucky because his producer was the guy that wrote the book and was like, "Yeah, the Iraq sequence, of course." So we're going to Iraq.
Who Blatty didn't write that in his script originally, and Friedkin was like, "You got to put the Iraq stuff back in."
And I got to see. I used to work for the Tab Smiley show. And I got to see Friedkin talk. And he talked a little bit about this movie and about religion, and he was definitely a believer. So this is not an anti-religion movie or anything like that. This is a fully believing movie. So
absolutely. Well, if you looked at I think attendance at Catholic churches skyrocketed. This came out.
Yeah, and I mean, just a last note here. I mean, I really love the editing of this. This and like Legend of Hell House came out around the same time, and both of them have that jarring editing where it's like very peaceful, and then you cut to the inside where she's getting the sound scan of the or whatever it's called, the head scan, and it's just this loud machine like making all this racket, and it makes you uncomfortable the entire fucking movie. I love movies that make you do that, make you feel sick the whole fucking movie. So what a great movie. All right, we are down to the last two, guys. Last two.
Wow.
So comment below, what do you think are the last two movies there? And this one is gonna be my favorite of the last few here.
I don't even know.
It is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Okay.
Part 1.
Dude, you just added yourself.
I didn't get to say this for Scream, but like the idea that Wes Craven changed horror like 3 times in 3 different decades is something that I don't think he gets enough credit for, because like this movie changed everything.
It did.
And Last House on the Left, and then you've got this, and then you've got Scream, and it's unbelievable. But I mean, what can you say about Nightmare on Elm Street? It's so fucking good. It's so perfect.
The film was so terrifying.
Yep.
Yeah, I when I was a little kid, I saw my mom watching this movie, and I peeked over the couch, and it was the boiler room scene at the beginning, and I see Freddy scraping his fucking claws on the damn pipe, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm never going to watch a Freddy Krueger movie. And it was just a few years later that my friend said, hey, my friend just stole Nightmare 3 Dream Warriors. You want me to bring it over and we watch it? I'm like, oh, fuck, no. But you just tell me when it closes. And that night was the night that changed my life. And then I went back and finally watched this movie. And it's just fucking a masterpiece. The body bag dragging through the school hallway.
The trailer and the TV spots both had the 2-shot. They had Freddy with the arms stretching out in the alley, and they had her feet going into the pancake batter stairs. And those were both things that's like, okay, I have had these nightmares. I have seen that.
Really?
And that, like, once you get into that, it's like, okay, now you've gone almost too far. It's like, okay, you're literally
you've entered my mind.
You've entered my mind.
It's totally relatable because I had those. I had those same 2 dreams too.
Yes, really.
Absolutely.
This might be the most genius movie idea of all time.
Yeah,
this is it.
Like
Sleep.
100% relatability because everyone dreams. Everyone's had a nightmare.
Yeah. Or everyone
And you
sleeps.
can't do
have to
anything
fucking
about
sleep.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a
just
plan
like-
if zombies come. I've got a plan if a slasher comes. Like, what the fuck do I do when I'm asleep?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. It's like, well, we have to. It's something you can't
Even
not do.
even his inspiration for the film, like
Yeah.
reading about the kid who wasn't going to sleep, and they were trying everything, and then they find the kid dead. And
Yep.
so yeah, it's just it's creepy. It's amazing.
All right. So
That's my number one.
oh yeah. All right. So real
Or
quick,
actually,
I'm gonna
it's
do. We're not gonna discuss these movies, but I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you guys the runners up 32 through 40.
There's,
All right,
there's
first-
a lot missing on here.
Yes, there is. All right.
Where's
so
the
here-
changeling?
Oh wait,
Before we hit number 1, here we go. So our number
better be what I
40,
think it is.
number 40 on the list was The Fly. Number
Yeah, deserve to be on the
39.
list.
Yeah. Number 39 was Friday the 13th. Number
Sorely
38,
missed.
Friday the 13th Part 2.
Hmm.
Number 37, Friday the 13th Part 4.
That's not number one. Oh,
It's like none of those, maybe one of those made number 1, but we're not sure yet. But that's wild. But okay, up number 30, 35. I think I screwed up on one of them. Hey everyone, this is Future Tired Me late night editing this episode, and since I forgot to build the graphic for number 36, I just wanted to add it here. Number 36 is Shaun of the Dead. You can't forget this horror comedy classic. Okay, so number 35, The Omen. Number
All right.
34, Bright Night.
Yes.
Number 34 again.
That should have been on the. That should have been on the.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. it
100%.
should
Top
have.
31 for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Yeah.
forgot to put it on my list. I'm sorry, guys. Number
it's your
30. Number
Jerk.
33 is Dead Alive. It's a shame it didn't make it higher. Number 32, our final that didn't make the list but should have, is Sleepaway Camp.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Shout out to Melissa Rose. All right. So, you
But
guys
these
ready?
are all, the funny thing is these are all modern, and we're at number 1. So we're missing all the Universal. All the Universals didn't make it with people. You
All the
know,
Hammer
all
movies.
none of the Hammer movies.
Yeah.
You know,
They're
Yeah.
on my
On my
list,
list.
Dave.
Like more Italian
Val
horror and
no,
Lutner is really
like no Fulci, no Fulci,
no Fulci at all.
unless
Wow.
The Beyond is number 1.
Let's be honest, nothing can beat Repo the Genetic Opera, which is going to be number 1 for sure.
Where's Pieces?
Yeah. I
Where's
also,
Shopping Mall?
You don't have to.
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Where's
The car.
Ghoulies?
Yeah.
Come on.
I also want to make note, but because we only have a couple of minutes left before Jared needs to bounce out of here. But
You know.
who
1
was
minute.
it? So Christopher Jimenez, he put one Dave Parker movie on. I think, yeah, you did, right?
I did.
How dare you.
Hills Run Red.
How dare you?
Yeah, the Hills
That
Run
doesn't
Red.
belong in any of this
I
conversation.
love that fucking movie.
Get out of here. It doesn't belong in
And I
any
can't
of
even qualify why.
It's a great movie.
But thank you.
Amazing.
That's very flattering. Thank you.
All
And
right.
Dave, your directing reel was really awesome, man. I like it.
No, we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about good movies
No,
here, Eric.
no,
We're
you're
talking
here.
about good movies here.
Everyone, check out Dave's directing reel online.
Yeah, it's you might find it on things like
Okay.
Facebook, prestigious sites like Facebook.
And then you should give him
Sorry,
$3 million so he can make his small budget
Hey,
dream
Christian,
project.
why
All
don't
right,
you
everybody.
hire me to edit a movie, for Christ's sake? There we go. All right, now that we're
All
done,
right.
let's move to number 1.
Number 1
Is.
on our
Number
film
one.
villains, 31 greatest horror movies of all time, is a tie.
Oh,
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? Here we go. It's the showdown becomes Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All right.
Okay. All right.
You're the best.
They were
Yeah,
close
yeah.
on all 10 lists. They scored 87 points. There was no breaking this down. They were both perfect movies and with perfect scores. Everyone had them high on their lists. 87 out of 100.
Yep.
All right, so then I think we need to break it down to the 8 of us that are here right now of what's the number 1 of these 2.
Ooh.
Halloween.
Ooh.
I'm going to go
Yeah,
Texas Chainsaw.
Spook. I'm gonna go Texas Chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I probably.
Halloween. I wrote it in the book.
2003.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, okay. Am I? So wait, so we have more Texas Chainsaw. I haven't said yet. So
I haven't said either yet.
Yeah,
man, I don't know. I probably have to say Texas Chainsaw too. Not number 2, but Texas Chainsaw also.
Oh yeah, Texas Chainsaw 2. That's it. That's the one. Top, bro.
Then as a whole pure horror visual experience, yeah, it's Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is.
Is that unanimous? Was that everybody? Or
It's
Except
the
for
Gone with the
Fucking
Wind.
black sheep over. It's because I've got to stand by my answer. It's my favorite horror movie and my favorite horror movie book. And I mean, just I saw it first. It definitely it made me obsessed with fucking horror movies.
Sure.
Like, so by
Was
me
that my fault?
personally, it's higher.
Was that my fault?
You definitely had something to do. I'd seen it before, but you gave me the franchise because Chris Ackerman was a huge bootlegger back in the day and would just send me fucking VHSs that all the time when I'm 10 or 11 years old, way too young for them. So I'm even a sucker for Halloween 5 and 6. Even the bad ones are good because I saw them when I was 11.
Well,
So
I used to pass them through the fence like Halloween candy. At his elementary school, hey, little boy.
I know he hid drugs in all of them. Maybe that's why I liked it so much. But I love both of these movies. I get how they're both one. How do you and for different reasons and similar reasons. But Texas Chainsaw shows it. Halloween doesn't show it. That's pretty much the big fucking difference.
No, but Texas Chainsaw hardly shows it.
They're both pretty restrained.
It shows
They're
the
very, they're very restrained. Very little blood in either one of them.
Right, that's true,
but
actually.
one is, but again, Chainsaw from the beginning of it seems like a movie that was made from hell.
Right.
It's just there's
made by
something.
psychopaths.
Yeah, not that the person, but it was if evil was going to recruit a movie or ask a movie to be made, it would be that movie.
Right. Yeah, it's too much. It's almost too much, and I love that about it. When you get to Sally screaming in that last reel, and the close-ups on her eye, and it's as a human, when you're watching that for the first time, it's I don't know if I can handle this.
But it's everything from the beginning, from the flashes and the solar flares, and then the daddy long legs, massive spiders in the corner, all of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things
shape, you've got Michael Myers, you've got the white mask standing outside, out of focus.
So much. I know. It's if ever two were gonna tie, I'd be all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Last year, people go, "Where's Frankenstein?"
Right.
Where's
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really later on, after growing up watching Chainsaw Massacre, is learning about seeing that when I was in history courses, that Vietnam was the first time that you were seeing live footage of actual war. On
the atrocities, yeah,
you were seeing it in your living room,
right?
And the way that they were shot on either 8mm or 16mm, and then the way this is shot, it has that same kind of visceral, nasty, weird kind of subliminal connection. To
that documentary, that sort of off in a distance deal.
Yeah,
Toby came from documentaries.
At the time,
but it's not handheld shaky like a bad documentary.
Yeah.
It's those old 60s documentaries where you're off at a distance.
Yeah.
That's what's disturbing about it.
On a tripod. And,
I mean, but I mean, even then, you know what? There's a shot in this movie. I always used to. I saw it on VHS the first time, and I mean, the VHS to me, that's how you see it. That muddy. You talk about the daddy
grainy, scratchy.
For 10 years, I didn't know what was in that corner because the VHS was so you couldn't tell what is that? Is it a cobweb?
Right.
Is it, but to me, when Laserdisc and then the DVD and the Blu-ray and all of the better quality versions of it, you start noticing how good the cinematography is in that movie.
Yeah.
So when the cook drags Sally into the truck, there's a dolly shot where the camera slowly pushes in on the driver's side window, and then he realizes that he's left the door open and the light on, and the camera dollies back away from the door. He goes out, closes, locks the door, comes back, and then it dollies back into the and it's this is a gorgeous, amazing shot. And then you realize there's all these, and then obviously the iconic shot of the swing, where she, where she goes walking. Terry McMillan goes walking up to the house. It's a gorgeously shot movie, and it's not. Everybody always kind of thinks of it in terms of it being like handheld or being something grimy that was made by amateurs. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's
its crudeness is in the atmosphere and the set design and the feel of it.
Yes,
not the technical.
No.
Yeah.
Because it was very professional.
And then I think probably one of the greatest moments in horror movies is when he grabs the girl from the foyer and fucking slams that metal door.
Yes.
One of the most incredible, like powerful, like this is what you just walked into. This kind of massive power, and you're not gonna fucking leave.
No,
you're not gonna escape.
Yeah. And then
the
you've
long,
got Dr.
the long
Loomis.
lens when he's chasing Sally, where he
and
looks giant behind her. It's like, come on.
And those the punch-ins when she's running, tracking with her, and the punching in is and I was gonna say, and then you have Dr. Loomis giving that fucking speech in Halloween, and you've got the opening at the mental hospital.
Let's not discount Halloween as we
yes.
I
mean, my God,
there's another movie.
The Panaglides opening, the single take. It's it's not, but
the raising of the light above as he comes from behind her,
right?
And the influences of Peeping Tom on it.
That's right.
Carpenter score, the John Carpenter score for the ages. I mean, Halloween, that music. That is.
I mean, that's the thing. When people think Halloween now, the season and everything, chances are more people think that movie than anything else.
Well, I think we did it, guys. We did it.
This was the Rob Zombie Halloween and the Jessica Biel fucking chainsaw, right? Okay.
Where was Hocus Pocus and where was Rocky Horror? Where's Rocky Horror?
Both of those were on some lists, but they were Hocus Pocus was on Ken's list. He's not here with us. Rocky Horror, of course, is on Spooky Dan's list. So right now, if anyone, we're gonna stop the show. We're gonna end this one today, and we're gonna do. If anyone can stick around, we'll do a little a follow up with some of our lists and compare. I want to go through some franchises of like what made the best, some number top 10 movies that didn't make anyone else's list, and some other things. We'll go through some stats. So if anybody can stick around, I know some of you guys got to go. So we'll end this. And we'll link that here at the above. And thank you all for watching Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Dave Parker. Thank you, Eric Spooning. Thank you, Spooky Dan. Thank you, Christopher Jimenez. And of course, thank you to all of you for watching this long. Please share it with your friends. Please let us know if we got something wrong. I'm sure we got.
You're gonna hear a lot.
Comment below.
We never said we had good taste when we made this at all. Like, there's an asterisk.
I do. You just all picked the wrong movie, though.
Right, but I'm very happy that Return of the Living Dead made the top 10 at the very least.
Well deserved.
Some horror comedy made it in. So, all right. Well, thank you all, and we will see you next time on Film Villains. Thank you.